Before the maps were drawn, before the nations took form, there was a forest that had no name. People feared it, whispered of it. They said it was a living thing, not made of trees and dirt, but of bones and blood. And hidden deep in its darkest roots was a village. They called it Gahara, built around a sacred spring. Its people lived quietly, but not peacefully, because the forest watched. Nyara was unlike the other women in Gahara. Tall, beautiful, unmarried. Her eyes were green like the river moss, and her hair flowed like woven night. Some said she was touched by the gods. Others whispered she was cursed. But when the chief's son fell in love with her, everything changed. Their love was secret, hidden, forbidden. Because Nyara was chosen by the shrine of Nyoka, and no one chosen could bear children, not unless they wanted to break the ancient pact. But love is foolish, and lust even more so. One night beneath the serpent tree, Nyara broke the pact, and the forest heard it. That night the moon turned red. Cattle died in silence. Even the birds refused to sing. 9 moons later she screamed into the dark, her body trembling as 2 children tore their way into the world. But the midwives dropped their knives. One child cried like the others, but the second did not. He stared, eyes open, mouth shut, a newborn who did not blink. The elders gathered. Elder Diojo, these are no children. These are messengers. The forest does not forget. The fire that night danced backward. Snakes slithered out of empty pots. One midwife went blind. Still the village dared to name them. Tamu the quiet twin. Tano the loud one. Twins a taboo in Gahara. Because in their lore, twins were once gods. And gods do not like to share flesh with mortals. A week later the first death came. A boy went missing near the river. They found his bones arranged in a spiral. At the center was a doll, made of hair and dried skin. It looked exactly like Tiamu. Nyara denied it. The villagers whispered. The chief said nothing. But one elder spat blood when the twins looked at him. Another dreamed of crows that spoke in Nyara's voice. And still, the rain stopped. Desperate, the villagers gathered at the ancient shrine. A stone serpent coiled in vines, tongue made of copper, eyes of bone. They poured milk. They sang. They wept. But the shrine was quiet. And then, a scream. Elder Dogo collapsed. His face twisted into a grin. And then his eyes melted. The twins were only 5 days old. Nyara held her sons tighter than ever. But even she began to change. She wandered at night. She whispered to trees. One morning she came home with blood on her lips and a broken mirror in her hands. The forest had claimed her. But the villagers could not touch her. Not yet. Because her sons were watching. They always were. From behind trees. From inside shadows. From beneath the water. Children began waking up screaming. Child. They were in my room. They were smiling. They whispered something about the fire. Every child told a different dream. But all ended the same way. Then they pulled out my tongue. The village prepared the kufumwa, the ancient binding. The only way to seal a cursed soul before it grows strong. Iron chains soaked in goat's blood. Salt circles. The name of the mother carved into bark. But when the ritual began, Nyara stood in their way. She screamed. Her eyes bled. She spoke in tongues. And the twins laughed. Even the trees leaned in to listen. They had a choice. Kill the twins now. Or banish them beyond the line of leaves, a boundary no one crossed. They chose exile. And so, on the 7th day under a sky with no sun, the twins were led into the woods. Bound. Whispering. Unblinking. Nyara did not cry. She only said, when they return they will not return as boys. And so they vanished into the trees. But Gahara did not heal. Because some things should never be born. The twins were gone. Dragged beyond the line of leaves. Into the part of the forest where even spirits dared not wander. Gahara village fell silent. But it was not peace. It was the kind of silence that comes just before the beast returns. The air grew thick. Dreams turned to ash. And no child was born for 7 years. Nyara remained. Her eyes hollowed, her skin pale as bark. She walked the edge of the forest. Each day speaking softly into the trees. My sons, my gods, my fire. No one dared approach her. No one dared mention the twins. Until one child disappeared. A little girl. Found buried in red petals beneath the old serpent shrine. Hands folded. Tongue missing. It was subtle at first. Animals wandered in circles before dying. Salt refused to preserve meat. Rainwater turned bitter. And the wind began to whisper. Not in the language of men. but in something older. Something wrong. Chief Enji. The exile was not enough. One night, Elder Mondo ventured into the forest. He carried iron in one hand, fire in the other. And when he returned, he was not alone. He brought a message. From a voice that hissed through trees. Elder Mondo. They are not boys anymore. They were the forest now. They speak the names of the old gods. He dropped dead before sunrise. His mouth full of soil. The village well turned dark. Not muddy. Not dirty. Black. Thick. So. A young woman reached into it and screamed. She pulled out a doll. A perfect replica of herself. Its eyes missing. Its mouth stitched shut. Then her real eyes began to bleed. The curse was growing. A boy named Thibaut claimed he saw Tamu in the trees. He was taller, he said. His eyes were pale as the moon. He didn't speak, but I heard my name in the leaves. That night, Thibaut vanished. They found his footprints ending abruptly at the line of leaves. Next to it was a tiny footprint, much smaller, but pressed deep into the mud. Nyara disappeared for 3 days. When she returned, her body was cold, but she was alive. She said nothing, just smiled. Her eyes were cloudy, her teeth sharper. They locked her in the granary. But at night they heard her humming. My boys, my gods, my fire. The elders gathered in the sacred hut. Chief Enji, we must prepare. The curse walks again. Elder Kima. The shrine must be rebuilt. The pact reformed. Elder Sangha. Or the forest will take us all. They decided on the ritual of forgetting. A ceremony to erase the twins from memory. But as they burned their names from bark and bone, the flames turned blue. And then one by one, the elders began to laugh. No one slept that night. The village was cold, yet everyone sweat. Children heard footsteps around their beds. Mothers heard their names whispered through the thatch. Fathers saw shadows reflected in bowls of water. And the wind returned. But this time it carried a voice. A child's voice. We're coming home. At dawn, the village woke to find every tree blooming with blood-red flowers. Each one shaped like a tiny hand. The villagers gathered in silence. Some wept. Some fell to their knees. And one child began to giggle. They looked and saw a pair of boys standing just beyond the line of leaves. Same face, same eyes, but older, taller. Wrong. The twins had returned. They came with no footsteps, no breath, no shadow. But the forest swayed in their wake. Gahara had banished them. But now, Gahara belonged to them. The twins had returned. But they were not children. They stood just beyond the edge of the village. Barefoot, identical, still. Tamu wore a necklace made of crow beaks. Tano carried a bone carved into a flute. Neither spoke. But their eyes said enough. We never left, you only. Chief Njao had grown old. But fear made him young again. He ordered the guards to strike the twins down. But the weapons dropped mid-air. The earth swallowed them. The guards screamed and fled. But one was frozen, eyes locked with Tano's. His skin turned gray. His veins turned black. And he crumbled into ash. The next day, Gahara was not the same. Goats walked backwards. Children could not speak. Reflections in water were no longer their own. And Nyara was gone. Her hut stood empty. But the walls were covered in blood-written symbols. Each one was a name. Every villager's name. Crossed out, except two. Tamu and Tano. A stranger came that night. Cloaked in black feathers, barefoot, with hollow eyes. They called him Fumunuru, the last priest of the forgotten gods. He did not bow. He did not blink. He said only this. Fumunuru. These twins are not children. They are the mouths of an ancient hunger. You fed it once. You banished it. Now it wants more. That night it rained black. And in the fields, figures rose from the soil. Dead elders. Old warriors. The blind midwife. They walked, but their eyes were gone. Led by the whispers of the twins, they danced in a slow, circling march. Every circle drawn, another child vanished. People no longer slept. They passed out, only to wake choking. In their dreams they were underwater. And in the depths, they saw Nyara. Eyes open, arms out, singing. Behind her, the twins stood tall, dragging long chains across the sea floor. And everyone dreamed the same final word. Return? One little boy, Kilo, began to hum an eerie tune. His mother wept and begged him to stop. He said, "They taught me. They said it's the song that opens the door." That night he vanished. His bed soaked with lake water. His pillow full of black feathers. Mfumu Nuru led the villagers to rebuild the serpent shrine, stone by stone, bone by bone. They used blood as mortar, chanted forgotten names. But when the shrine was complete, the earth beneath it split open, and from the crack rose Nyara. But her body was no longer hers. She had become the forest bride. And Wayare, you cast me aside. You feared my children. Now feel what fear births in return. Her arms extended unnaturally. Her hair writhed like roots. And behind her, the twins walked. Each step they took cracked the stones of the shrine. Each breath they took, the wind died. Mfumu Nuru summoned the fire god. The sky turned gold for a moment. Thunder roared, and light fell like rain. The twins paused. Nyara screamed. Hope ignited. But then, Tano began to laugh. He reached into the fire and pulled something out. A flame that screamed. He crushed it in his hand, and the golden sky turned black again. Hope had lied. The gods had forgotten Gahara. Only the old ones remained, and their children now walked in flesh. It was the night the stars disappeared. Gahara stood on the edge of an endless abyss, the earth shaking beneath its feet, the air thick with death. The twins had returned. The curse had returned. And now Nyara stood at the heart of the shrine, her eyes like empty wells, her body bent and twisted by a force older than time. The village had no hope left, but there were still whispers, the kind that only the old could hear. The elders gathered one last time. Around them, the sky burned red with the blood of the old gods. Chief Enji, we must sacrifice. We must offer what the forest desires. Mfumu Nuru, there is no offering left, only the end. But the villagers could not hear. They would not. They thought there was still a way to save the children. But the children were already gone. Nyara approached. Her figure was broken, but her eyes glowed like fire in the night. She did not speak, only smiled. You did not listen. A mother's love, betrayed by what she had created. She stepped toward her sons, her gods. But then, something changed. Her body trembled, as if fighting against something inside her. Her smile twisted, becoming a snarl of desperation. Mfumu Nuru raised his hands. The villagers gathered, their faces filled with despair. The ritual of binding. The last hope. They would bind the spirits of the twins to the shrine, trap them in the earth, before they consumed all life. But Nyara intervened. She screamed, her voice splitting the sky. They are not gods. They are not children. They are everything. The fire that had ignited the skies now flickered and died. The twins stood motionless, their bodies now as tall as trees, their eyes like hollow pits. Their voices echoed across the land, mixing with the wind. Tamil, we are the hunger. We are the death. We are the curse you never escaped. They walked toward the shrine. The ground cracked beneath their feet, and the air began to fill with a thick, suffocating fog. And with every step they took, the villagers felt their memories fade. Faces blurred, names lost. The earth groaned, and the village began to sink into the darkness. The houses, the people, the trees, everything, pulled into the abyss. Gahara was being erased, not by fire, not by sword, but by the memories of its people. The twins had not come for revenge. They had come for forgetfulness. The villagers took up what weapons they had left. Rusted spears, sharpened rocks, broken shields. They did not care that the twins had already turned the earth to ash. They fought, but each blow only fed the curse. Each scream only strengthened the twins. They did not fight to win. They fought to die with their memories intact. Nyara stepped forward, her body now trembling with the weight of what she had created. The twins paused. They looked at her. And in that moment, she remembered them. Her sons. The gods they had been. Her heart broke. And Wayare, I never wanted this. And with that, she gave herself to them. Her body was consumed by the curse. Her skin blackened. Her bones twisted. Her love had brought the end. And now, she was the final offering. The twins looked down at Gahara. The people were gone. The earth was still. Only the ruins of what had once been. They smiled. But their eyes were empty. And so, Gahara village sank beneath the earth. Its name forgotten. Its people erased. And its curse, never to be lifted. For when the twins had come, the forest had remembered everything. And in the silence that followed, they continued to walk. The evil twins of Gahara will never be forgotten.